I did just hit go live. Hello, hello. Oh, there we are. Guess I'll wait a couple minutes to see if anybody shows up. And it's kind of a bummer if nobody. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I gotta also remember that there's a bit of a lag there. Um, yeah, so I guess I'm the only one here right now. Yeah. Hopefully, people will start showing up soon. Let's see. Hello and welcome, everybody. Hoping to see if anybody else shows up here, so we can just from the looks of it, I'm the only one here thus far. Hmm. It's going to be a very interesting. Yeah. So just waiting for some people to show up. How is everybody? Yeah. Hmm, so just waiting for people to show up. Oh, maybe what I need to do is I also need to remember to share this a word out that yeah that does remind me. Let me see if I can. All you do is talk, talk. All you do is talk, talk. All you do is talk, talk. Hmm. Yeah, well, I got some good news from a friend of mine. The one person who probably would have probably ended up showing up here was not able to tonight because he and his wife are basically welcoming their second child into the world. So congratulations to Brian Glaze and his wife Diamond as they're bringing their second child into this world. Uh, anyways, yeah, I'm still the only one here. It looks like. Ah, interesting how you try to talk to yourself here. Hmm. 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 All you do is talk, talk. All you do is talk, talk, baby. All you gotta do is talk, talk. Hmm. Well, and I'll give him a couple more minutes here, and then I'll just start going and hope that people show up. Hmm. Oh, we found. Hey, Mike. Hey, Toy Man. Finally, got another person in here. Thank you for joining me. Really appreciate that. It's kind of hard to have a live stream when you have nobody else to interact with. I'm glad you could make it. Okay, so now at least I have one other person in here, so hopefully we can get some more. Um, hey, Toyman, if you can give the stream a like and a share, help the algorithm and help get the word out, that'd be appreciated. Um, so, anyways, now that there are two of us in here, I guess I'll get started on what I was going to talk about. So yeah, so the early part of the week, of course, as I was doing my videos, as I searched for news stories, by watching some of the other guys I subscribe to, like Hero Hay, Tug, Yellow Flash, and the rest. I was coming upon a couple of stories there that Hero Hay had. What's up, done? All right, thanks, Toyman. Thanks. So, anyways, back to what I was just saying here. Yeah, I was. So Hero Hay, I know, has been following a particular set of stories going on about, and I know Yellow Flash also touched upon this, in which now you're starting to see some of the Japanese artists kind of push back against the woke culture. So I was watching their videos, and as I was doing my own videos and commentary on them, it made me think about. It would seem like there was a kind of a cultural bakumatsu going on. Now, the bakumatsu was a history in Japanese history, was a period of Japanese history, which you had two sections. You had the pro shogunate faction that wanted to maintain their isolation from the rest of the world. And then you had, I think were called the Bakufu, who are the people who wanted to open the borders to foreigners, to the outside world. As I was thinking about that, and as I was doing my video and stuff on it, I was thinking back, and hence the title of this video, Timepieces, or this stream, Timepieces, in which, obviously, there are a number of historical type animes, that, you know, um, that the Japanese have produced over the years, and I was, and I, a number of them, the Bakumatsu, but there are also a few others, and it's an interesting take on some of the, how the Japanese interpret certain things in certain histories. Like one of the earliest in terms of historical data is anime manga called Kingdom, which was set back in the Chinese Warring States period, in which, in this particular case, with this particular anime, followed the ascension of what was probably considered one of their greatest generals of all time, military minds of all time. That being Li Shin. That was his name, anyways. The way that the Japanese told the story was, Li Shin was born as a war orphan and would make his way up to, Li Shin of Qin. Um, he was basically the general who helped the Chinese ruler Qin Shi Huang unify the warring states, the different warring states. Toyman, how is everything? Am I coming in clear? Um, I did hear that on YouTube there is a little bit of a lag sometimes, but all right. Well, I'll continue on. Hopefully everything's coming in clear for you there, Toyman. So, so Kingdom is an anime that came out in like 2012, 13, originally in Japan, was eventually dubbed here in the States, I believe, by up in Canada. as I said, follows the story of War Orphan. Yes, sir, loud and clear. All right, thanks again for responding there, Toyman. Um, yeah, so Kingdom was an anime manga based on basically the ascension of Li Xin, who ended up being one of the greatest generals in Chinese history, who helped the ruler Qin Shi Huang unify China by 221 BC. So, so with that, excuse me one moment, Twin. I got to do something here that doesn't need to be caught on camera. All right, I'm back. uh, so, anyways, so moving on to the next historical anime I'll talk about here. First off, I want to set something set up here. Okay. Now that that's set up, let me review this real quick. All right. So the next historical anime I'll talk about is Sengoku Basara Samurai King, which was based, of course, was actually a multi-season anime that focused on in Japan um, on some of their warring states. Very good. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about the Bakumatsu because of what we were talking about the other day. I was thinking the way that the West is trying to intrude upon the anime culture here kind of seems like a cultural Bakumatsu. And apparently somebody decided that they were going to extend the 4th of July. I heard that boom boom just now. That was somebody blowing off a firework. Anyways, so yeah, so yeah, Sengoku Basara Samurai King. So what was that all about? Okay, so in the Sengoku period of feudal Japan, many generals fought in an endless struggle for national power and unification. One man proved to be too big of a threat, the demon king of Owari, Oda Nobunaga. Date Masamune and Sanada Yukimura, two young warlords from different regions who became heated rivals, begin to form an unlikely alliance with the rest of the generals to take down the Demon King. The first series um, follows the emergence of the protagonist, particularly the main protagonist, Masamune and Yukimura, and their struggle against Nobunaga, who seeks to conquer the land under him and is willing to crush anyone, even his own allies, to do it. It ends with his defeat at the hands of my and in Sengoku Basara Part 2, the second series, witnesses the emergence of Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Try saying that one 3 times fast. As the next potential unifier of the land. Though, unlike in actual history, he has no connection to the. So, in the anime, he didn't have the connection to the Oda clan like he did in actual history, whose retainers were almost entirely wiped out along with him by the end of the first season. Um, so that's about the gist of that one. Um, yeah, so that was a pretty, and I've seen obviously Sengoku Basara in the second season. It's pretty good anime there in terms of a lot of action and the music's pretty good too. So, um, yeah. So let me see. Just setting some stuff up here. I am pausing a bit. So with that, who produced this series? Which series are you talking about? Are you talking about some Goku Basara? I'll go back and go check on both of those and see. So let's see. Sengoku Basara was produced by Production IG. It was the anime series based on, of course, the video game. And let me see. Let me go back page here. Kingdom was actually produced, I believe, by Piro. Let's see. Yeah, it was by Studio Piro, the same company, of course, that did Yu Yu Hakusho and Naruto. Did Kingdom. Kingdom was produced by Piro, um, and Production IG did Sengoku Basara. So that those were the yeah. Yeah, kind of hard to follow. It delays that long. I know. Um, yeah. So, anyways, moving on then to the next historically based anime. Now, the anime itself was called Shura no Toki, which actually was a prequel to what the manga was. The manga, the source manga was Shura no Man. Let's see. The anime Shura no Toki. That's the next one I'm going to talk about here. Was produced it was produced by Media Factory Studio Comet and licensed by Anime Works. Now, Shura no Toki basically was about lines of a family basically. You know in Shura no Toki, you basically had three generations of one family known as Mutsu, and the Mutsu family developed pretty much a practically unstoppable form of unarmed combat that they called the Mutsu Enmei Ryu. So with that, and it was and in the prequel series they covered three generations of it. The first story are it's a 26 episode anime, Shura no Toki. The first 7 episodes um, covered Yakumo's ventures and his eventual duel with the legendary swordsman Musashi Miyamoto, who of course was from around the time of the um, who was from around the time of the Sengoku period. Um, then the next arc in the series follows um, Takato Mutsu, and basically, at least in their canon, and this is where sometimes the interesting thing in animes can come into play here, because sometimes some of the creative liberties um, that they take in the second arc, you had a character who was initially claiming to be a Mutsu, but she was actually the daughter of Yukimura Sanada. And when the real Mutsu came into the picture, her bodyguard knew instantly that was him. You know, in the second arc, it focused on Takato's relationships with Iori, Miyamoto, as well as the legendary Jubei Yagyu, the guy with the one eye patch. Now, I there's been a lot of discussion over the years about what that eye patch was all about. Some, as I was reading on it earlier, some people say it was he had no sight in that eye um, for his whole life. Another said he was injured by his own father in a sparring match. In the show, he used the eye patch much like Takta did with closing one eye as a training device, basically to train himself to do better by handicapping himself. Um, and then in Shura no Toki, he would um, of course be blinded by Takato. And then in the third arc covered the Bakumatsu period with the development of the friendship between Izumi, Mutsu, and Ryoma Sakamoto. After basically in which Izumi was seeing that now what they were putting Ryoma Sakamoto was as he was this great swordsman, very a prodigy when it came to the sword. And in the show's canon, he would after losing a duel to Mutsu, he would give up the sword and would start using a gun, basically. But he didn't feel the need to defend himself because he felt that Izumi would protect him. But just as what happened in history, just as what happened in history happened in the show as well. Ryomo Sakamoto was assassinated in what was known as the Omiya incident. So, yeah, but it's just an interesting take on some of these historically based anime. Um, Another anime that was based on Jubei Yagyu was known as Jubei-chan. Now, what that one was about was through the eye patch, Jubei Yagi's soul would possess the eye patch, would eventually be brought on to a teenage girl in modern times who would then possess her when she wore the eye patch. And she did, of course, did not care for it. She did not want to be caught up in all these duels. She wanted a normal life. These animes were known as Jubei Chan's Secret of the Lovely Eye Patch, and then there was a second one. See, the whole series was known as Jubei Chan, the Ninja Girl. The two parts were the secret. The part one was the Secret of the Lovely Eye Patch, and then part two was the counterattack of Siberia Yagyu, another extension of the Yagyu family, who were supposedly banished, and then Jubei had to fight them off. Each 13 episodes. Some pretty interesting stuff there. Um, and as I'm setting stuff up here, I'm basically just setting up research materials just in case you're wondering why I'm stopping. Just setting up stuff, to where I can grab it easily enough to read off. So, Toy Man, how do you like how do you like the presentation so far? And why I'm waiting for your answer? Real quick. I hope you're enjoying what I'm presenting, um, what I'm talking about here. Um, All right, so moving on to some of the actual animes now that actually did feature the Bakumatsu in their in their in the actual anime. First one, of course, I'm going to talk about is Peacemaker Kurogane, which came out in 2003, 2004, and it was originally produced by Gonzo and licensed in America by Madman Entertainment. I think it's presently licensed by Funimation or Anime Limited. And it was shown, of course, on Anime Network, Showtime. I first saw it on Anime on Showtime Beyond, so that's how I got exposed to it. It's a pretty good anime. So this, let's see here. Oh, lovely. Yeah, well, as I said, one of the things I like to do is, for those who've watched some of these animes, help them remember the good times they had when they watch them, and also for those who haven't watched those animes yet, um, I hope that it will spark an interest. Maybe they'll want to watch them. It's some pretty cool stuff after all. You know. So, anyways, back to this then. So I'm going to talk right now about Peacemaker Kurogane. So this is a gist of Peacemaker Kurogane. The story is focused on the main character Tetsunosuke Ichimura, who is an energetic, short, and very childlike 15-year-old, 16 in the manga. He and his older brother Tatsunosuke are left to fend for themselves after the vicious murder of their parents. Interesting point here: Tatsunosuke Ichimura in Peacemaker Hirode was actually voiced in the English dub by Vic Mignogna. So Vic voiced Tatsunosuke here. Now, while Tetsunosuke was a page for the Shinsengumi, he did not have a brother in real life. This was something exclusive to the anime. So I'll continue on here. While Tetsunosuke wants to get revenge, his pacifist brother is not so inclined. Tatsu joins a special police force dubbed the Shinsengumi, basically the shogunate police force fighting off the Bakufu, um, as an accountant to earn a living. His brother Tetsu wishes to join as a soldier to seek his revenge. The story chronicles Tetsu's trials and tribulations as a struggling page craving redemption. He develops relationships with all the legendary members of the Shinsengumi army, helping them with their various struggles as he constantly battles his own against himself. Um, at the story's climax, Tetsu discovers himself and the overwhelming responsibility the power he is searching for holds. Basically, the idea of learning how to use a sword. And of course, many people start calling him in this anime. They start calling him Puppy Boy because he's like a little puppy dog in a lot of ways. Very not just very energetic, but also small. You know, um, but throughout history, Tetsunosuke Ichimura was a real person. He was an actual page for the Shinsengumi. I don't think he was quite as short as in this anime, but that's basically how they ran with it. As I said, Japanese have some interesting ways of talking about their not you know history. Sometimes their own. Some of these artists. Sometimes it's their own. Sometimes other. And I'll get to one, or I'll get to one soon that I'm talking about. probably the last one I'll do. Okay. Oh, we have three people in here now. It looks like. And who else has joined us? Wonder who else has joined us? If who the third person who's joined us, if you won't mind giving a like and sharing the link, that'd be appreciated. Help the algorithm and all that. I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear your take on what I'm talking about. If you've heard anything that I've talked about thus far, and I'd at least like to see you say hi. um, so give me a sec here because I gotta step away real quick. Okay, so here we go. Here, oh, I gotta do it again. I'm sorry. Hold on. One more. Hopefully, all that was finally out of the way now. Okay, so back to it then. So the next anime based on the Bakumatsu I'm going to talk about is one called Intrigue in the Bakumatsu. Um, and I would advise you to try to say this word three times fast. Iro Hani Hoheto. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Ironihoheto. Iro Hani Hoheto. So, what is intrigue in the Bakumatsu Iro Hani Hoheto all about? Well, first, let's get some of the production information here. Um, of course, it was originally done by Sunrise. Sentai Filmworks had the license; it's now expired. It came out 2006, 2007 originally. 26 episode anime. So the series is set in the Bakumatsu era, with the shogunate being in its final years and war fast approaching. When Yojiro Akizuki, a dark and mysterious mercenary, nears something supernatural with some kind of importance um, to him, the ornament on the end of his sword hilt, waves in its direction. His eyes glow mysteriously, and he is driven to go after it. He comes across a traveling theater group who is out for revenge for the killing of the parents of the group's leader, um, and whose mysterious playwright likes to secretly help along the events of history. Yojiro joins them to lend them his skill against their enemies with dark conspiracy, while dark conspiracy continues to follow them. Interesting story, you know, a little bit darker than than obviously Peacemaker Kurogane, one of the, you know, but the next one I'm going to talk about is even darker than this one. So, yeah. But then again, when you're talking about like samurais and stuff, and you're talking about going around having duels with swords and stuff, that can get pretty gory and it can get pretty dark. Um, hey, Anonymity, how you doing? Let's see. Okay. Just got home from work. Let's see. Hello. Thank you for joining us, Anonymity. As I asked before, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream and help the algorithm and see if we can get some more people in here. That'd be appreciated. I hope you're enjoying the content thus far. I hope you both are enjoying the content thus far. Um, let me see. Let's just set up next thing here. That's now set up. So yeah. Hey, Mr. Walters. I always like the good guys. I'm glad I'm glad you consider me a good. That's a nice compliment. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. As I said, I know you just got here, so I've been covering, some historically based anime, just reviewing some of them, particularly the ones surrounding the Bakumatsu. Because I was just thinking this past week, about how the Japanese are kind of pushing back against the wokeness of the West and their intrusion into their works. No. So, and it reminded, I was thinking how that pushback reminded me of that. It seems like right now they're going through a cultural bakumatsu, and I started thinking about the bakumatsu. I realized there were a number of animes made not just for the bakumatsu, but also um, some other points in history that I've been going over. So that's basically what we've been talking about. I've just been kind of giving, a little review on stuff. Let's see, they remain logical in standing against the evil me. Yeah, true. That is true. You know, the Japanese are a very proud people. I mean, I think everybody knows that. And as I was even telling them the other day, continue with what brought you to the dance. Don't let anybody tell you what to write, what to don't let anybody tell you what to do on that because that's your art, not theirs. So, um, so yeah, so I'll continue on then. The next, oops, what did I just do there? Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, I think I just accidentally, I think I just accidentally shifted the streamline screen. Now I can just figure out how to get them back together. There we go. It looks like I got it back together. Good. Sometimes some of this technical stuff can trip me up a bit. I'm a bit of a boomer myself. So, anyways, back to what we were talking about here. Then, so the next historical based anime I'm going to talk about is one called Hakuoki, which is even darker than Intrigue in the Bakumatsu. It's, of course, the genre is classified as otome, which I think is made historical fantasy. This one was actually divided into a number of different sub arcs, including Demon of the Fleeting Blossom. Basically, they were originally produced by Studio Dean, Thai Filmworks here in the States. The Record of the Jade Blood. And there was an OVA, A Memory of Snowflowers, and then Dawn of the Shinsengumi. And that was, I think, the Dawn of the Shinsengumi one was a prequel to the other series. So here's the main plot of Hakuoki. Chizuru Yukimura heads to Kyoto to search for her father, finding herself attacked by madmen before they are cut down by members of the Shinsengumi. the police force, who take her into custody for interrogation. Upon learning that she is a girl and the daughter of a doctor who developed the water of life elixir that turns those that drink it into invincible bloodlusting berserkers, called, the Japanese word is, I think, rasetsu. In English, they're basically like zombies, basically, that went out, zombies, vampires that went out after people. The Shinsengumi decide to keep her as an aide in their search. In time, as the Shinsengumi aid the shogunate in the Bakufu, um, okay, Shizuru begins to develop a bond with Shinsengumi and its aloof member Toshizo Hijikata, one of the vice captains in the Shinsengumi. However, as time passes, Shizuru and the Shinsengumi confront a mysterious faction who call themselves Oni, which is the Japanese word for demons, and that Shizuru is also an Oni with father, revealed to be experimenting on the water of life to create the Furies to wipe out the human race. Oh, that's the gist of that one. So again, that one's even darker than Intrigue in the Bakumatsu. But it's very interesting. I always like the Shinsengumi um, in Gintama. Yeah, since I had never watched Gintama, that's the only reason why I didn't feature them here. I've actually never watched it. They've only actually I know there are a number of Gintama series, but they only dubbed one, and they didn't. I don't even think they dubbed the whole series. So that kind of sucks. But sometimes never seen Bakumatsu, but just looked it up and it looks good. Yeah, it's a darker one, but I'm sure that you can get into the story pretty well there. Um, so yeah, so as I was saying though, I marvel a lot of times at how Japanese will at times will take some creative liberties with history. You know, in fact, we're going to talk about another historical. Yes, we're going to get out of the Bakumatsu era now. We're going to get into the early Meiji period with an anime that is well known to many people, Rurouni Kenshin. So, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen Rurouni Kenshin from its time on Toonami way back when. It originally came out, of course, it was originally the first 66 episodes were made by Studio Gallop, and then Studio Dean took over at episode 67. It was licensed by Madman and Aniplex. It was, of course, on Toonami, as we mentioned. Good music. It was a good series. So just to remind everybody of it, here's the skinny on the plot here. In the early Meiji period, after participating in the Bakumatsu War as the assassin Hidokiri Badosai, Himura Kenshin um, wanders the countryside of Japan with a reverse blade katana, offering protection. Basically, the idea, what they mean by a reverse blade katana is the dull part of it, the dull edge is out, and the sharp edge, the killing edge, is in. You know, so when you're swinging it, you're swinging with the dull edge first, more using it more like a blunt object as opposed to slicing anything through with the sharp end. Um, Offering protection and aid to those in need as atonement for the murders he once committed. When arriving in Tokyo in the 11th year of Meiji, which was 1878, according to our calendar, he meets a young woman named Kamiya Kaoru, who is in the middle of a fight with a murderer who claims to be the Hidokiri Batosai, tarnishing the name of the swordsman swordsmanship school that she teaches. Kenshin decides to help her and defeats the fake Badosai. After discovering that Kenshin is the real infamous assassin, Kaoru offers him a place to stay at her dojo, noting that he is peace loving and not cold hearted, as his reputation implies. Kenshin accepts and begins to establish lifelong relationships with many people, such as Sanosuke, a former Sekiho army member. If I remember correctly, this is a guy who had that huge sword, the sword that in Naruto was called the Executioner's Blade, that kind of sword, if I remember correctly. Miyojin Yahiko, an orphan from a samurai family who is also living with Kaoru as her student, and a doctor named Takani Megumi, caught in the opium trade. However, he also deals with his fair share of enemies, new and old, including the former leader of the Oniwa Banshu, Shinomori Aoshi, and a rival from the Bakumatsu turned police officer, Saido Hajime. Try saying these names, you know, three times fast. It's a bit of a challenge. Excuse me one moment while I turn on my light here. Things are starting to get a little dimmer here. Turn on my light so we can a little more light in here. All right, I'm back. Before I continue on with the next paragraph, let's see. You guys are. Let's see. Okay. Hit or miss. You see. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of them, that's the thing. Watch animes at least one time through. You know, you might get interested in it, you might not. My hope is that I can spark enough interest for people to um to check these animes out if they haven't, and if they have checked them out, I'm glad to help you remember the good times you had watching them. Right, anonymity, right? Toyman. I'm sure Toyman, you're still in there. We just haven't heard from you in a while, so um, yeah, because obviously Roroni Kenshin's not in circulation right now. I mean, I would think that by now it might be out of print, and unless Toonami does decide to bring it back or something like that, chances are. Okay, so after several months of living in the dojo, Kenshin discovers that his successor as assassin of the shadows, Shishio Makoto, um, plans to conquer Japan by destroying the Meiji government, starting with Kyoto. Feeling that Shishio's faction may attack his friends, Kenshin goes to meet Shishio alone to defeat him. However, many of his friends, including a young Oniwa Banshu named Maki Machi Misao, whom he meets in his travels, decide to help him in his fight. After his first meeting with him, Kenshin realizes he needs to get stronger to defeat Shishio without becoming the cold assassin he was in the past, and returns to the man who taught him Kenjutsu, Hiko Seijiro, to learn the school's final technique. Now, another interesting little side note, of course, in the English dub of Rurouni Kenshin, the guy who voiced Kenshin, Richard Casino, He would also voice Izumo in Naruto. So um, just another little side note there of interest. So that you guys might find that interesting, if you're Naruto fans. But anyways, um, back to this. He finally accepts his friend's help and defeats Shishio in a close fight. Shishio dies, being engulfed in flames due to the rise in his body temperature caused by his severe burns. Um, when Kenshin and his friends return to Tokyo, he finds Yukishiro Enishi, who plans to take revenge by killing his friends. At this point, it is revealed that during the Bakumatsu, Kenshin was to be married to a woman named Yukishiro Tomoe. She had initially wanted to avenge the death of her first fiance, whom Kenshin had killed, but instead they both fell in love and she got proposed to. It is then discovered that Tomoe was related to a group of Edo guards that wanted to kill Kenshin, and Tomoe is betrayed by them and captured to use as bait. Kenshin rushes to her rescue, killing both his assailant and believed to accidentally slay Tomoe, who jumps in at the last minute to save Kenshin from a fatal attack. Wanting to take revenge for the death of his sister, Inishi kidnaps Kaoru and leaves behind a corpse doll bearing a stunning resemblance of Kaoru for Kenshin to find and momentarily grieve over. Once discovering that Kaoru is alive, Kenshin and his friend set out to rescue her. A battle between Kenshin and Nishi follows, and when Kenshin wins, he and Kaoru return home. 5 years later, Kenshin has married Kaoru, kind of a happy end, and has a son named Himura Kenji. Now at peace with himself, Kenshin gives his reverse blade to Yahiko. So that's a good story, and I remember watching that too. That was a good story to watch. It was a very nice story to follow along as well in terms of and we have a fourth person. Hey Romer, how you doing, man? Well, welcome to the stream. Sorry you came in this late though. You missed a lot of content there. I've been talking about historical animes, some of which you might have heard of. Hopefully, maybe you'll go back and watch the stream again and catch some of what I said. Um, let's see. OVA. Yeah. So let's see what's been said so far. Romer, if you can help out too, if you can go ahead. Oh, you already did, it looks like. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I hope you shared it too to see if we can get some more people in here, like watching them in straight Japanese. Oh, okay. Let me take a peek here at what's been said. I take a bit of a break before I go to the last historical anime I'm going to talk about. Let's see. So let's see what you guys have been saying here. Man, it's been so long since I. Oh, here. Let me see if I can try to do something here. Oh yeah, it says right here, show. Okay, that's nice to know. Let's see what you guys have been saying here. And go back to a point. Um, Management. Okay, guess I'll start there. Man, it's been so long since I see Moroni Kenshin, but I remember that exact moment. I hope you do. Let's see the next one. Correct. Okay, yeah, that may have been in response to something I said. Saito, yes, anonymity. Hey, Toyman, let's see what you. Hey, correct. Fun times. Samurai X OVAs, Novas were brutal and beautiful. Yeah, a lot of samurai, a lot of like samurai animes aren't. But when you're playing around with swords, um, OVA section. Um, I like watching them in straight Japanese. To hell with cartoon. Yeah, well, for some of us, that's not quite as easy. Like I've tried watching subs, but the thing is, it's like gets too much to sit there and try to be reading it as you're watching the action. It's like splitting your concentration too much. If you're not a speed reader, it's kind of a bit of a nuisance. So I just prefer watching the dubs, even if I'm not always happy with the behavior of some of the voice actors. Not obviously, Rurouni Kenshin was done out here in LA. Haven't heard too much from them, but you know what I'm talking about though when I say the behavior of certain VAs. We've been dealing with them for the last year. Let's see. I do prefer subs. Yeah, well, what, subs, dubs, as long as you enjoy it, that's all that really matters. Agreed. I'll accept a good sub too. I have arrived. Yes, you have, Romer, and thank you for joining us. Um, Smiley face, I guess, anonymity. And then now that we're back here, let's see. Have a good night, Mike Walters. Late here on the East Coast, later anonymity. Well, I understand, Toyman. I thank you again for coming in and joining me at least for a little while. It does help. Does help. I hope you'll come back and check it out. Check out my streams some more. Let's see. Okay. Toyman says hello to Romer. Bakumatsu, I just put in the backlog. Uh, Good. I hope you enjoy it. Anonymity. You guys, give me a sec here. Yeah, sometimes stuff happens to where, and as soon as I go finish going through these chats, of course, I have one more historical anime I want to talk about, or historically based anime I want to talk about. But I figured I'd at least see what you guys were saying here. And thanks for coming in, guys. And also, I figured out how to do this stuff. So let's see. Have a good one, Toyman. Yeah, I think we all later, Toyman. Um, Samurai X is the first part of Rurouni Kenshin's life. Yeah, from what I understand, when that one came, it was produced after the Rurouni Kenshin. If I understand correctly, I think it was Samurai X, the OVA that was produced after the series, but it was more of a prequel, if I understand correctly. But you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. Um, at this point, sub is the only option. Well, to each his own. So, so now I've got kind of caught up on some of you guys' comments. There's one more historically based anime I want to talk about. This one though isn't about Japanese history. And excuse me once more. Okay, so I'm back now. So the last historical based anime talking about this one is particularly interesting to me. I saw it. This one, of course, was dubbed by. This one was dubbed by ADV. Um, this one though is not about Japanese. It's not about Japanese history. This one's actually set in 18th century France during the reign of King Louis V. So I'm going to tell you the real story, and then I'm going to share. This anime is known as Le Chevalier d'Eon. It was about a knight by the name of Deon de Beaumont, and interesting the take that the well, okay, I'll actually read off the anime first, and then I'll go back to the actual historical figure. This is actually based on a historical figure by the name of Deon de Beaumont. No idea which one. Okay. So this is about the anime Le Chevalier Daemon. Le, Le Chevalier Daemon. Okay. The story begins in Paris, 1742, when the body of a woman named Leah de Beaumont is found in a casket floating along the Seine, that's Seine River, Seine. Um, the only clue, the only clue regarding her death is the word Psalms, which is written in blood on the lid of the casket. Deon de Beaumont, Leah's younger brother, and a knight in the service of King Louis XV, takes it upon himself to investigate his sister's mysterious death, along with the strange disappearances of a number of French women. By order of the King of France, he is to recover the royal psalms, which is linked to the mysterious death of his sister and the case of the missing women. At the beginning of his journey to find the royal psalms, he is accompanied by a young boy named Robin, pointed to him by the Queen, a gentleman named Durand. Interesting note about Durand here, turns for the English dub of the Chevalier. I know those of you in here now said you prefer subs, but just an interesting note here. The guy who did the English voice of Durand in this was Ilic Guardiola, the same guy we've been talking about since last year, who married a student. Um, Vic also provided a voice in this series. Vic was Sir Francis Dashwood. Again, these are all based on, with the exception of the main characters. Well, with the exception of the group here that accompanies Dayon, I believe the majority of them were actual historical figures from the time. So who okay, and Durand is an old colleague of his sister, and his old master Telegory. The four musketeers traverse across France, Russia, and England, trying to get closer to the truth and the royal song. However, it is soon known to them that a fifth member is in their party. Loyalties are tested as they usher further down the path of the royal songs. So that's the plot of the anime. In kind of a reverse of the old saying, truth is stranger than fiction. In this case, um, yeah, I guess many people would say that fiction in this case is stranger than the truth. Oh, that. I'll watch. Yeah. Let's see. So, never heard of that one. I believe I'll watch either, but I prefer subs. Oh yeah, it's not always good. Again, whatever makes you happiest. Oh, that guy. Haha. Yeah, I mean, if you've ever watched any of ADV's dubs, and you've Illick has a pretty distinct voice. If you've watched enough of their dubs, particularly prior to 2014, then you'll know his voice. Okay, so yeah, so one of the interesting things that I found, and it looks like Anonymity and I are the only ones left, I guess, because there's only two of us in here apparently now. Um, Real life can be stranger than fiction. Also, more interesting sometimes. Yeah. Well. Okay. So this is the real story behind the Chevalier d'Eon. Okay. There was a real d'Eon de Beaumont. He was, in fact, let me look that. I'll grab that information right now, and I can kind of read off some of the basics here. In real life, he didn't have a sister, but when I read off his bio here, you'll probably find it pretty interesting. Let me. Oh, Chevalier d'Eon. Okay. So, Charles Genevieve Louis Louis, I guess it would be Luis, Auguste Andre Timothy Deon de Beaumont, born October 5th, 1728, died May 21st, 1810, usually known as the Chevalier d'Eon. Now, just in case you didn't know, the word chevalier in French means knight. He was basically a knight. Okay, here's a little bit more information on Chevalier d'Eon. Chevalier d'Eon was a French diplomat, spy, Freemason, and soldier who fought in the 7 Years' War. d'Eon had androgynous physical characteristics and natural abilities as a mimic and a spy. Androgynous basically means that he could physically present as either a man or a woman. Okay, that's what that means. He was androgynous. Quite a few. There were like 7 or 8 right there. 7 or 8. Yeah. I can count them out real quick. Let's 1, 2, 3, 6. You know, seven, not including his last name with his last name 8. So there were 8. Yeah, 8 names right there. But anyway, so here's a little bit more information on him. Dayon appeared publicly as a man and pursued masculine occupations for 49 years. Although during that time, Dayon successfully infiltrated the court of Empress Elizabeth of Russia by presenting as a woman. Now, what I believe, and this is what I picked up from the anime when they covered this arc in the anime as well. Um, I believe in real life, Leah may have been his alter ego, Leah de Beaumont. That may have been his alter ego. They may even say it here that that was, in fact, his alter ego as a woman, as Leah de Beaumont. Um, for 33 years, from 1777, 1 year after the American Revolution started, Dayon lived as a woman. Doctors who examined Dayon's body, organs in every respect, perfectly formed, but also feminine characteristics. In other words, biologically, he was all man. His features may have been a bit more feminine, but you know, but he was all man. Um, let's see what you have to say here. Can you imagine putting out a report for a man, then he goes and dresses like a woman? Well, I think in today's world, Yes, and we probably, in the world we live in today, you can see that happening. And excuse me one moment here. But it was kind of interesting to see. In fact, let me go back and pull that up again because I want to see who exactly wrote that story, that manga, because that was an interesting take to put on that. You know, to make, instead of making it one person, he decided to split them up into two and have them as siblings. That was an interesting take on that story. I mean, I understand that. I understand that Japan is a fairly conservative culture, and granted, I don't know if they have any laws against that kind of thing or not, but I don't think it's one of those things that's really looked upon too kindly. So, um, so the manga Le Chevalier d'Eon was written by To Ubukata, illustrated by Kiriko Yumeji, published by Kodansha. The current English publisher is Kodansha USA. Del Rey being the former, was in Magazine Z. And the original run of the manga, which ran 8 volumes, went from January 26, 2005 to November 26, 2008. The anime that manga was based on was directed by Kazuhiro Furuhashi, produced by Katsuji Morishita. Of course, we already talked about who wrote it. The music for that show, and that had a very good opening theme too. If you decide to watch it, it's an interesting take. Huh. True. Okay. Um, Michiru Oshima did the music. Production IG was the one who did was the studio that produced it, and it's been licensed by Madman in Australia by Madman Entertainment, North America by Funimation, and ADV Films in UK. Well, Funimation I think is the current licensure. It was formerly licensed by ADV here in the States as well, I believe. Original Network, Whoa Wow, English networks in the U.S. It was, of course, shown on Anime Network here in the States. And the original run in Japan was from August 19th, 2006 to February 2nd, 2007, running a span of 24 episodes. So, some very interesting very interesting things. So, well, anonymity, you're the only one left. Looks like, well, 20, and I can understand it, particularly for those on the East Coast. Um, it can be pretty late. It's like right now here, 8:20. On the East Coast, like 11:30. So I can imagine they would need to, Oh wow, we had another person come in and give me like, I think whoever gave me that fifth like, um, that's appreciated as well. Um, so yeah, so Hannah Minichi, as you're the only one in here, is there anything you'd like to ask me? Anything, maybe you want to point out any particular historical animes that maybe maybe you want me to talk about a little bit, or ask if I've seen, or anything like that. I'm gonna open up the floor here. Oh, so you're on the East Coast too. It's 11:20 here, so but I'll be up for a while tonight. What, you a bit more of a night owl? I don't know much about those. Well, I would maybe hope that maybe, now that I've talked a little bit about them, you might, that might spark some interest for you to to go ahead and check them out, you know. I just watch whatever. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's always good just to watch as much as you can, when you can, when you have the time to and stuff like that. Up till 3, depending if I have to work shifts. Hmm. And I take it tomorrow's an off day for you, right? Yeah. I always have time to check out something. Well, hopefully, I hope if you check out more of my works, some of my VA profiles, some of the other stuff, maybe I can give you more ideas to go check out stuff, whether you want to watch dubbed or subbed. Because even if you may not care for the voice actress I may profile, um, maybe the animes in of themselves, if you look them up, you might find them interesting. Um, okay. Yeah, I hope unless I'm called in. But with the corona flu, it's been slow. I took a secondary job helping store out in the evening. Well, at least you got money coming in, so that helps, right? I am rewatching Erased, and hold on, show this. Rewatching Erased and Rakshasa Street right now. Hmm. Money for bills, ha ha ha. Yeah, yeah. It's always that's the way the world works, right? Yeah, correct. So how have you liked the stream anonymity? You found the information informative? Have you found it like have I given you some ideas of some stuff you can maybe look into watching later? A good work too, man. Came in late, but I liked I like that I now have two new shows to check out. I'm glad to hear that. I'll I'm going to be, just to let you know, I'm going to be doing these streams for the remaining Sundays in July here. I'm also depending upon how they go and how I feel about them. I'm actually considering, and I'll give you a little heads up. You're only one other person I've told this, but I'm considering transitioning from doing videos during the week to doing nightly streams. So something maybe to look forward to in the future. A lot of those streams will be more covering the daily news, obviously, of what's going on in the niche cultures, anime and all that. But always important. So I hope I'll see you again next week. I hope I'll see you on more of my streams here. Just to let you know, so you know what time they'll always these trial streams will be Sundays at 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock Pacific. That would be 10 o'clock on the East Coast where you're at. Um, and they'll be at least through the end of July. So I hope to see you back here next week, and at least then you'll know. All right. Well, we're coming up on an hour and a half. Unless there's something else you wanted to ask or something else you want to talk about, guess I'm going to end the stream now. Okay. So is there anything else that you wanted to ask or anything you want to talk about? Mm. Yeah, those shows I'm watching. Yeah, I've heard of Erased. The other one I hadn't heard of. I don't know if that other one is dubbed or not. As I said, I'm more of a dubber just because it's easier to follow for me. But to each his own. But Erased, I do plan on watching at some point. Just depends upon when I can get around to it. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. Thank you for joining me, Anonymity. I really appreciate it. I know Toyman and Romer had to leave already. I appreciate them joining me as well. And I hope to catch everybody back here next week. I shall see y'all later. Bye.